Krista. Thanks so much for joining me today. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled to, get to chat with you today. Before we get started, my name is Wendy. I am the Chief Community Liaison here at Tokeativity, and I am so excited just to dig into this.
And I'm Krista Skucas. I'm the Senior Director of Sales and Marketing at Danodan Hempworks, which is based here in Portland, Oregon. And we focus on hemp infusion products that are CBD, but more than just CBD.
I love that. I personally have had the pleasure of trying your products, and so I feel like I have the inside scoop on this a little bit. And they are fantastic for anybody who's watching this out there. Highly recommend. Really, really amazing to infuse drinks with and things like that. So let's dig into this. Just to kind of get some background here on you and Danodan. I'm really curious, just you, Krista, what led you to the cannabis space and ultimately to Danodan?
Yeah, I think like a lot of Pacific Northwesterners, I always dabbled in the cannabis space. It was the alternative to alcohol from that earlier age and really, enjoyed it for what it was as a younger age. And then as I got a little bit older, I started partaking in some activities that kind of pulled me away from the altered mindset that I was feeling from it. And I participated in motorsport called rally racing. And through that, we got, crashed the car, which happens in rally, but I ended up with a pretty good concussion. And after that, I decided to revisit using cannabis as a way to help with some of the symptoms that I was having from that, which included like headaches and sleeplessness and anxiety and whatnot. And it really helps with those things. But I noticed that I was even more sensitive to the THC. And so I didn't like the feeling of the high that went along with it. I was also more sensitive to alcohol as well after that head injury. So kind of plowed through with that and kind of would use cannabis here and there, but was like super particular in how I'd use it. Like I'd have like a clear schedule. It was like a weekend day. So it really limited me being able to help control those headaches with it. And I decided it was just too strong for me. Maybe how the market is now with legalization and really good strains. But also my body was just really sensitive to the THC. So I ended up trying with some CBD, tried a brand, didn't really seem to be doing anything for me. And I actually have a fellow rally car racer friend who's a doctor in Canada, and she was talking to me about some research that they were getting training on in her field. And she was like, you got to try the CBD that has a little bit of THC in it. And I didn't really understand at the time, this was like 2017, really what was out there in the CBD world. And so, she was like, you won't get high. It's like a low amount of THC in there. So I started looking for some more brands, and in Portland, just knew some people who worked for Danodan and was familiar with the product, but I hadn't really used it yet. And through a completely separate way of like helping calm some dog's stress, saw how well that worked on that dog and was like, that's not a placebo effect. So at the time, I was really burdened down by constant migraines. And then obviously, you don't sleep well. So I decided to start using the rest of the dog supply that the dog did not, have contact with. And actually noticed that it really was helping. And I'm a little stubborn. I don't want to use a lot of prescription drugs. I was going to like constant doctor's appointments for my symptoms that were ongoing. And they really wanted to put me on some sleep aids. And I just did not want to get addicted or whatever, like have the side effects associated with sleep meds. But they were adamant, like, you have to get good sleep in order to even get any further in recovery with this and help your headaches. And so that's when my journey with using Danodan started. And I noticed a lot. I was also doing a lot of different like therapy treatments and some light sensitivity training and whatnot as well. So I won't pinpoint it to just one solution. There's a lot of work that went into it. But once I realized like how much it could help and actually saw it and experienced it, I got more involved with Danodan and ended up doing some consulting for some positions as they were growing. And then ended up getting hired for some positions that I helped create as the consulting party. And yeah, started out as account executive and then moved into sales and marketing manager. Was co-CEO for a time while we were looking for a new CEO to take over. And now here we are, almost 3 years later, and now director of sales and marketing, and really exciting stuff in the works for us. And I'm just really looking forward to our products being able to reach a further audience and help more people.
I love that. What a unique way to come into, a business that you work with, especially in such an integral way. That's I love that it, stemmed from a need and a love for that product. That really speaks to, what you guys are doing as a company and as a brand, and what you're creating. Um, and also, I have to say, you're kind of a badass. Rally racing, that's amazing. Thank God you're all right. But this is just such a, beautiful and unique way to come into this place, and that's a really fun story. Thank you for sharing that. Um, all of it. I've used a lot of different CBD products on my pets as well, and that's another just like fun piece to this puzzle that you don't hear a lot. Usually, it's like, oh well, I, find all this benefit from cannabis, and I want to share that with my dogs. Now that I know more, it's interesting that that's the other way around for you, and just a special thing, and really speaks to the symbiotics of the cannabis plant and just how it's so integral in so many things. We had our endocannabinoid systems are so miraculous. And so I'm just kind of a nerd about that stuff. So I love this. Um, Now that you are, in it with Danadan and doing the things, and, senior marketing director, and, playing such a huge role in these products, and what you all are doing as a company, can you share with us a little bit about what makes Danadan different than other CBD products that you can find on the market, or maybe other ones that you tried prior to arriving at Danadan as like the one that really worked for you?
Yeah, so our founder, Daniel Stoops, he started playing around with glycerin as a solvent for THC heavy cannabis. That Danodan first was a THC business, and so he just was tinkering around in his basement is what he calls it, but he created little mechanisms and a process, and kept just kind of going back and forth and trying. He dabbled in smoking of cannabis, but he didn't like the way it made him feel, and he tried an edible for the first time and realized that worked differently for him. And so he wanted to create something that was consistent across the board from a whole batch, and that he could just use small amounts and add it as he went. And so he created this process that years later we now have a patent for. And the thing that really speaks to me, because I used to work at Whole Foods Market, so I'm like such a natural foods nerd, and like natural food is medicine. So our process is super minimal. So Our product is dark in color, it is dank in taste, it smells like the cannabis plant, and it's because the process that we use tries to keep the properties of the hemp flower as unadulterated as possible. And so it's a very gentle process, and it keeps more than just CBD in it. So, people are familiar with CBD and THC, but there's so many different constituents of the plant, phytochemicals and other compounds and other cannabinoids in there. And, we've all heard of the entourage effect, but when you really get like that chlorophyll and everything in there, you can use smaller amounts of our stuff and it be very effective. So one of the things we have to tell people is like, you might be used to, 100 milligrams of an isolate CBD. Like, you might still just want to start with 15 milligrams of our stuff because it can pack a punch for some people, and everybody's systems are different. But when you start considering all the other constituents in there, if you added all the milligrams of all that together, then you're obviously a lot higher than just the CBD milligram contents. And then with that glycerin as the solvent, it means that our product is water soluble, and it makes it a really fun product to use. So you're not just like taking a capsule, or, gummies are fun as well. But our liquid, you just can pump it into any beverage, and it gives a very great herbal flavor. Some people will, and it's sweet. So some people, will say it's like cannabis honey, which is a whole different category. But the sweetness that's 0 calorie because it's glycerin, plus the herbal flavor really adds a cool flavor and taste to beverages. I use it in coffee, tea, but it's also fun to make like cocktails and mocktails, kind of considering the Danodan as like a bitters to add to just, some sparkling water and a lime twist. And so being able to like utilize it out of the medicine cabinet and throughout your day kind of helps to add another layer of like normalizing the cannabis space and the industry, and bring it out into everyday life as well.
I love that. I mean, I have a unique palate as compared to a lot of my friends and whatnot. They're into like the sweet and the fruity and things like that. And I really appreciated about the Danodan is that I'll add it to like kombucha or things like that. And I really love that like herbally flavor that it brings to it. It reminds me of like a nice herbal tea or something, but it has that touch of sweetness. So I love that. And just to speak to what you were saying about the entourage effect and, what we were talking about earlier, you're saying looking for those CBD products that have just a touch of THC, um, along with the CBD, not enough to, impair you, but enough to make it work. Like, if, anybody, I encourage folks to, learn more about the entourage effect and what that means and how it works with your system, because all of those compounds at play together, I mean, that's like you were saying, unadulterated. That's how it's intended to be, how nature intended it. And I've experienced products that really, hold that value in the full spectrum of what's there. You find is so much more bioavailable to your system. All of those different compounds are catalysts for each other, and your endocannabinoid system can garner so much more from it when all of those things are present. It just like clicks in that much better. And so I love that about what you guys are doing. And, you know, I think the value in companies that are a care about that, maintaining the integrity of the plant, those are the things that I look for when I'm looking at different products, because I think that, you just get more from it in the long run, especially from a medicinal value or even, recreationally. I mean, be a conscious consumer. Like, what are, so other lessons. And I love that you guys, take all of those aspects into consideration. That's one of my favorite things about your products.
Yeah, and it's really cool. We are just procuring our next order of hemp. So right now we're working with the local farmers. We are organic certified. So it's really great to be able to support local hemp farmers who also are certified organic and be able to just use those like top quality ingredients and really care about the quality of our product and being able to trace everything back to its source. It's, you know, top shelf is, you know, what you could consider our product. But yeah, it's great when people recognize and also they, you know, they want that and
Mhm.
traceability and QR codes for test COAs and all of that is just like, why not introduce that into the cannabis space? Because we expect it for a lot of our other products that we ingest and put into our body.
Right. That's something that I can't, um, express enough when talking with consumers. I mean, I come from a dispensary background, and when I would talk to people, that's, like, care about what you're consuming, ask these questions. Test results matter. Know your farmer, know where it comes from, and things like that. It's just of vital importance to this industry as a whole. And again, I can't appreciate enough that companies and brands that maintain the care for that, because a lot don't anymore, and that's what I want to see come through this industry, is more of that. People being much more conscious in their consumption and who they shop with and why. So, love that. How do you feel that, like, the care and intention that you guys put into your products, do you feel that that really ties into your larger mission in regard to, what you personally care about in regard to equity and plant medicine normalization, across the board, personally and professionally? I know that you had mentioned that's something that, reigns through for you guys as an organization. And so, how does the integrity of the product that you're putting together, translate to that?
Yeah, it kind of like crosses space between the moral obligation that we know that we help carry. We want to be a responsible brand and not make like some bunk product that we're just like, oh, CBD, it's a cash cow. So, you know, we have that piece to it, but we also know we need to educate at the same time. And so, you know, it's not an we're not taking an inexpensive route with the company because we want people to know exactly what our products contain and how they're grown. And we could be spending that money on some, you know, billboards or whatever. But so not only do we care about the quality of the product and our partners that we support business with, from our suppliers to our, you know, retail partners in around the country, but then, you know, like, we know that it's a privilege for us, who we are, what we look like, to be in the cannabis space at a time where so many other people are in jail for basically the same thing we're doing. And so we care a whole lot about that. And that's another future goal, is like, we want to be able to give back and help in an impactful way through the business and personally as well. And so, you know, there's a lot of missions and programs out there that support the prisoners situation going on with the cannabis
Mhm.
space, and that's always on our mind, and it does like weigh heavy on us because, you know, we're Portlanders and have grown up in a very privileged space, and um, we've skated by the law because of a lot of the privilege that we have that others don't. And so it's kind of like this like hippie mix, but like super healthful, but then also hoping that we can help politically at some point as well. And so that's kind of like the future mission. We want our business to be able to like get us going in that direction, to have a bigger impact than just, you know, selling a product.
That's so important. And, thank you for being mindful of that and, keeping that in the forefront of what you're doing. I think that's something that's really, truly important for all of us as folks in the industry, as cannabis consumers, whether medical or recreational. I mean, I personally know someone who's currently incarcerated for cannabis charges, and I think that's probably true for a lot of people in this industry. And so just being able to, remember that the war on drugs is far from over and there's so much work left to do, and truly how privileged we are to, do this for work and have the opportunity to pay taxes on our lives and be legitimate businesses and find legitimate medicine in the world and not have to be fearful in doing so. That's, truly a privilege, indeed. And just continuing to work towards reframing that and, undoing all of the detriment that's been done by the war on drugs is important. And, just thank you for keeping that in the forefront. I personally, as a consumer, I love to support companies that, you know, care about stuff like that. And so that's what I look for when I'm out shopping for cannabis products. Um, can I want to be conscious of your time, but can you share anything about like what you guys are excited for with the future? Anything that you want to share? Uh,
Yeah, we recently have launched a couple of products that, in the more restrictive times with COVID and all that, it's been difficult for a lot of small businesses, but we're, seeing past that. And so, I know that like hemp CBD, a lot of people associate it with like calming and relaxing and sleep, but we have a couple of products that are my personal favorites, which are one called Energy, which is a non-caffeinated energy. So it has just some botanicals added to it to help with an energizing effect, but it also is really great for like concentration. So I'll utilize some before I'm like, okay, I need to plow through like this to-do list, or before I get into the rally car and I've got to like focus reading notes for, a 20-minute stage. And I'm like, okay, I can't get distracted. And I will utilize that product. And then also, with my brain injury recovery and all that, exercise has been like extremely important in helping continue with that situation. And so we have a product that is really great for like post workout recovery, soreness, and that. And it has, like turmeric and some other botanicals, willow bark in there. And so I'm really excited for us to kind of like push in the direction of um, showing how hemp and CBD can be really beneficial for people who want to get out and go do the things that they've always loved to do. Like, as we all age, our bodies don't work how they used to, or we've got so much stress that like we don't have a lot of energy. So, hemp can be used as a tool for that as well. And that's a little less known. So I'm really excited for us to put some time and education into that. And then beyond that, we are thinking about putting a drink out there, like a ready to drink option. So we have
Woo!
RTD there. Um, yeah, it's going to be fun.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited now. Cannabis has for a long time been one of my favorite recovery resources. I play a lot of rec league sports, and so that's always been my go-to. And people are like, how are you, how do you work out, or how are you such an athlete, but you're so stoned all the time? I'm like, believe me, it helps. You can make it both work. So I'm really excited to hear that and can't wait to check it out. Can you share with all of us where can folks find your products on the market if this is something that they're interested in or want to check it out?
Yeah. So the quickest and easiest way is from our website, danodan.com. We do free shipping and oftentimes have some discount codes running around. So if people want to sign up for our newsletter, that's the best way to get the quickest, easiest deals and right to your door. We love USPS. They are hemp friendly. And then beyond that, we're in some pretty good natural grocery stores because, you know, I will never leave my natural grocery store space. So in the Portland metro, we've got New Seasons Market and Market of Choice. Out on the East Coast, there's going to be Mom's Organic Market as well, and Better Health Store up in the Michigan area, and then a splattering of small stores in around the rest of the country.
Amazing. So, can folks in other countries outside of the US order through your website?
We are just shipping within the United States right
Just
now.
within the US right now, but available all across the US, either in like I could go to the store in Michigan and find this on the shelf?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing, and hard to find. I feel like a lot of what you see in the grocery stores in regard to CBD is hard to find out valuable information on it or where it came from or what it is, and so that makes me so happy for you guys and just for the future of quality cannabis products on the market, widely represented. That's amazing. In regard to discount codes, is Tokeativity set up as an affiliate with Danodan, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
Excellent. We will make sure and leave some notes on this video of how folks can save with Tokeativity on some Danodan products.
Perfect.
Is there
Sure.
anything else that you want to leave us with as we wrap up today? Or
Oh, I am, you know, thanks for having me. It's definitely a really neat space. I know that a lot of people are using cannabis recreationally and, you know, to help with stress and everything. So I do know that there's probably people like me out there too, where they're super sensitive to the THC. And I would suggest people to really give Danodan a shot because you there's a lot of benefits that you can get and then you can like pass on the high. So we call it like you know, cannabis light because you know you got all the good stuff, but if you don't want to get high or you can't get high, like you got to go pick up the kids or you're like at the kids baseball game and you want to still imbibe and have that flavor and make the drinks, Danodan really is a good. And if anybody, you know, wants to know more about my personal experience with a brain injury or have questions there, I'm a huge advocate for, you know, keeping your brain good and like knowing what to look for if after, you know, you've had your head hit on something. So I am available on socials and I will always, always, always take the time to talk to somebody who doesn't know what's going on with them.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for, you are a wealth of knowledge and such a great resource in so many ways. Just thank you for taking the time with me and for sharing your story and your experiences. And I wouldn't be surprised if some folks do reach out to you. I might even plug you as a resource on like TBI. I know a few folks who've had more than their fair share of experience with concussion, as sad as that is. And they'll come to me about like cannabis info, and I can only tell them so much, but I don't have a whole lot on brain injuries, so maybe I'll send some folks your way too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Krista. I can't thank you and enough for being here today and just the work that you're doing with Danodan. It's really truly remarkable and quite impressive. Thanks for really setting the standard on this and for just taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We will talk with you soon. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks.